Okay, perfect. All right. So thank you again for joining. Tonight we are discussing candidate engagement and how to vet without the burnout. My name is Karina Crump. I just want to welcome you to tonight's call. And I am excited to have you here for this January Restful Resistance. So as you know, before we go into who's in the room, Restful Resistance is designed a nonpartisan space for us to reconvene, rebuild, and to still just prepare ourselves for the, I don't want to say a fight ahead, but for the movement ahead of just staying engaged and just being, having a sound mind as we go and prepare for the next upcoming election that we are preparing for. If you would just put your name and your city in the chat, that way we know who is representing tonight. So just quickly, we're going to do Pour Into Your Sister will just be a grounding segment by myself. Then we'll jump into the fireside chat, which will focus on candidate engagement, how to vet without the burnout. And that will be joined with Kellie, Todd, Griffin, and Keshia, Sexton. And we'll have an opportunity for question and answers. And then we'll have a joy practice, announcements, and closing. So for this Pour Into Your Sister, I just wanted to take a moment for us to ground ourselves. I know it's Monday, the first day of the week, and we are all coming in from the weekend and probably had an inbox full. So I just wanted us to take a moment to do a little breathing exercise so that we can just fully arrive in this space. So let's get comfortable, and we'll start by placing both our feet flat on the floor, resting our hands in gently into your lap, and softening your gaze or closing your eyes. So take the strain, the computer, the light from the computer off your eyes, the day, the sun, if you've been outside, taking that, just relaxing and closing your eyes a little bit. And then we are going to do 3 deep breaths, and you will inhale deeply through your nose, hold for a count of 3, and exhale slowly through your mouth. And we'll do that for 3 times. So we're going to inhale deeply through our nose. And exhale. Inhale deeply through our nose. And exhale. And again, we're doing this for 3 counts. Deeply, breathing deeply through our nose. And exhaling. Now we're going to do a gentle body scan, and we'll do that. We just want to notice the crown of your head to your shoulders, your heart space, your hands, your feet on the floor, and just releasing any tension you find with each exhale. And then we're going to affirm together. So we invite everyone to either speak aloud or say silently to yourself that I am present, I am grounded, I am enough. I am present, I am grounded, I am enough. Then we will transition slowly back and open your eyes if they were closed. Bring your attention back to the group. And we're going to carry this grounded energy forward. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so now we are going to get into our fireside chat. So, the fireside chat today is basically focused on civic engagement, candidate engagement and how to vet. And with that, we are focusing on, again, a nonpartisan space. We'll talk about some value based approaches to vetting your candidates, staying informed without feeling overwhelmed, and engaging civically with still while honoring your rest, your emotional wellness, and personal boundaries. Um, and this will be a conversation, a casual conversation with our president and CEO, Kellie Todd Griffin, alongside our collective staff member, Keshia Sexton. And we are just open for honest conversation on navigating civic engagement with discernment, with intention and care, without losing yourself in all of the noise. So I am just going to stop presenting. And then Keshia and Kellie, you have the floor.
Hi. Hi. Well, since we're such a, and Kellie, if you're in, please feel free to chime in. But I wonder, since we're such a small group, maybe we can start with a question around, thank you, oh, there's Kellie. Hi, Kellie. We can start with a question around, like, how do you keep yourself self-grounded without, or staying informed without getting to letting the news kind of bring you down. And Michelle, I wonder if you want to share, like, how you keep yourself grounded without getting brought down by all this that's happening in the news.
How do I try, I guess, for myself, when I think about I guess before the previous president, when before Trump was in office, I still try to focus on the facts, not getting caught up in what one person says, what another person says, and really just focusing on the facts. And then doing any research that I need to do on the candidate, to make sure that I'm well versed, and really just making sure that what the candidate, how long have they been in office? Just as I normally, would. And I guess really just trying to minimize the noise and some of the, opinions.
Yes.
That are some of the opinions. So really just focusing on the facts and, typically how I would in the past.
Yeah.
There's quite a bit more opinions going on now, and really trying really hard not to focus on those, on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And thank you so much for sharing, Michelle. Before me and Kellie share our techniques, is there anyone else that would like to share, like, maybe how you stay grounded while also staying informed?
Thank you, Michelle. That was a really good point of view perspective. And I would have to agree of just being well informed of the candidate, but also learning the facts. And what is important to me is a way that I also just try to filter through of which candidate kind of follows my morals and things that I would like to see transform in my community is a way that I typically vet my candidates of things that are important to me.
Yes. Thank you, Karina.
You're welcome.
Any other thoughts? So I guess, oh, go ahead. Oh, Charles, are you raising your hand? Okay, no, okay. So I guess what I could do is just share a little bit about like for me, and I guess I can kind of start with like how I came into politics. And so and that kind of helps like how I kind of went from being very inundated with all the news to now like taking a break and knowing when to engage and when to disengage. So for me, I started uh, my politics is really grounded in Black Power movement, Black nationalism, and Pan Africanism. And so the way I got politicized is by folks like Angela Davis, Assata Shakur, and just really my lived experience growing up in the neighborhood and seeing all the things that comes with like being Black in America. And so when I went to undergrad is when I started getting familiar with electoral politics. And then I later worked for a politician. So from my first campaign that I worked on, which was probably in 2006, because I needed to fund my trip to Africa, that was kind of like my introduction to politics. And it was a quick way to make a buck. And I remember me and my friend who both were trying to go to Africa, we would like, you know, find things to do. Like our shift was over at 7, we were there until 10 p.m. because we really needed the money. But it was also like my introduction to like, yes, we can get stuff done by being revolutionary, but we also have to figure out how to work in the system. And so once I had that experience, that became my world. From the type of job I had, I worked for an elected official, to like all of my friends were all in electoral politics. I would go to work, listen to the news. I would come home and listen to the news. I'll be texting my friends all night about like what's happening in the news and what's happening, who's running for office, who's not running for office. Like that was my social life. That was my political identity. That was like everything. And then the pandemic happened. And like many folks, I found myself burnt out. And I also, the news no longer became like my place of like, okay, like it no longer became where I wanted to go to socialize. And so I had to create real boundaries for myself around like, when do I take in the news and when I don't take in the news. And so at that moment is when, and to be completely honest, why this is a nonpartisan, I also got discouraged by the political party I was in because I was supporting one candidate and that candidate didn't win. And I didn't really feel like we had the support from the party at that time to really move this very progressive candidate who thinks outside the box. And so I was like, I need to find other things to do. And then the pandemic happened. And so for me, what I realized during the pandemic was I needed to have a well-balanced life. It didn't need to just be overly consumed with electoral politics. And so that's when I really went to like self-care, thinking about building other communities that wasn't surrounded around electoral politics and who's running for office. And that really helped nurture a more balanced Keshia. But because I came into politics through the revolutionary perspective, electoral politics also didn't always feed me in the way that I needed to be fed. And so for me, getting to values, and then I'll turn it over to Kellie, getting into values, because I come to politics with a Black nationalist perspective and Pan-Africanism, it has always been about the total liberation of Black folks. And also being a reformist, working within the system, I'm always looking for the candidate who's going to help me get closer to that goal of liberating Black people. And through the pandemic, I also started realizing, like, I actually support candidates who believe in free healthcare, free childcare, free transportation. Like, I created this whole ideology around The government should provide and take care of its people. And I'm going to support candidates who have that same philosophy, whether they're Black or whether they're someone else. So that's a little bit about my values and how I kind of was forced through burnout to have more balance when it comes to engaging in electoral politics. Kellie, and welcome to the new folks to the conversation as well.
So for me, it was a similar journey. I hadn't voted or anything. I wasn't really connected. I was just in survival mode. And I ended up getting a job working for an elected official. And that made me vote, right? That made me realize, oh, I guess I have to vote. I assumed um, the um, the party of my parents, which we know is consistent with most people. If your parents are one thing, you tend to be the same. But it wasn't until I started working for an elected, and I had what at the time was perceived a very progressive person. And there was a social, at that time, it wasn't called progressive, it was called social justice candidate. And so we had all these social, justice ideas around changing things, making things different. And then from there, we ended up, I ended up saying, okay, I get it. And then I got an opportunity to work on a presidential campaign and set that presidential campaign up here in California with 6 other individuals. And because California is always perceived to be the ATM of any, political race, even on a federal level, it gave me a front row seat to political processing, I would call it, an opportunity to look at how things work in the process of elections, the fundraising side of the elections, the endorsement. My role was to secure endorsements of all the Black leaders throughout the state and to manage Black media. And so I had the opportunity to meet a whole bunch of Black leaders at the local level, understand like their why, like why you're so engaged. And at that time, this particular candidate didn't have a lot of the Black traditional leaders supporting him. And so I had to go local. And today all of them are in higher level, which is great because they stayed involved, but to also understand that there was the politics of politics. Like I worked in corporate, and so there was politics in corporate, and then there was politics in politics. And it just gave me an opportunity to really look at the process when I worked on the presidential campaign, particularly being in a leadership role. It gave me a lot of insight of the importance of being politically active. And I really haven't looked back. I get more and more active every year, just because the needs are so important. You're on mute, Keshia.
Thank you, Kellie, for sharing your journey. I used to work for an organization. They was like, when were you, the question would be like, when were you politicized? And so like we kind of shared our journey from like when we got into politics and how that kind of transformed and where we're at today. I don't know if we want to invite Colleen and Vernil to also share. Hi, welcome to everyone that came in. We're just sharing how we maintain balance while staying informed. And I don't know if either of you would like to share, and it's okay if you wouldn't, if you just want to also continue to listen to the conversation before you jump in.
Well, I'll talk. My name is Councilwoman Comey Wallace. Hi, Miss Kellie. How are
Hey,
you?
Colleen, how you doing up there?
I've been super busy,
All
but
right,
okay.
all right. That's what I like to hear. Colleen is in an area that most of us don't even know where there is, and she's first Black woman mayor.
Oh, nice.
Thank you. And now, what was your question again, please? I
Well,
didn't hear.
we're definitely interested in hearing your perspective as a council member, and as someone who's in electoral politics. How do you maintain balance while also staying engaged?
Okay, so
Okay.
this is my first time ever being in politics. I'm on my um I'm on my second term, running for my third term. You guys just have to excuse me. I've been busy, so I might look a hot mess. Um, how I stay engaged with my constituents is ever since it just, God just put it in my spirit when I first got elected to have town hall meetings so my constituents here in Banning know what's going on in our city. So I've been having them ever since 2018, and they're great. I have good speakers that come, and I tell people I might be a politician, but I'm not a politician for the government that's going on. I'm a politician for the people. That's how I ran my campaign, and that's how I won. I was born and raised here in Banning, and I'm a first generation of Banning. So I'm just still learning, government things. I just came back from Sacramento. I was up there for a week, talking to lobbyists, just trying to, I want to help everybody, not just my town, just everybody. We need to bind together because it's a hot mess out here, and that's all I have to say. And I'll just listen.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for your work, your service, and also thank you so much for chiming in around how you not only stay engaged but also continue to fight for the people that you serve, which is really important. For now, and please forgive me enough if I'm not pronouncing it correctly, but if you also wanted to chime in, you're also welcome to. Um, and like, and I guess I should pause and see if you want to chime in. And like Karina said earlier, like we're going to be looking at 2028, which I think is the next presidential race. There's also midterms in 2026. Kellie, remind me, is it June 2026?
Yeah, June 2nd.
June 2nd. And we're talking tonight about electoral politics, but there's also all this other stuff that's happening. That either directly impacts us or that impacts the community that we care about, or it could be us. And so I really think coming to these conversations, building community is also what helps you stay grounded, and finding a political home is also another way to be with people who think like you while also staying engaged. Because also while the news is could be part of your emotional weight at the end of the day, we just can't turn our backs to what's happening outside of our front door. But we have to definitely do it in moderation.
Yeah, agreed. I think the other part, Keshia, too, is find your why when it comes to how you want to involve yourself in politics or in the process. Some people want to do it as volunteers, and some people want to be like Miss Colleen and run for office. There may be some that want to, just write checks and help support candidates. And there's many different ways to play in. Some people just want to advocate to make sure people have the right information. Some people want to register people to vote. So there's many different ways you can lean into this process. You just have to find out the why and the way that makes the most sense for you as an individual.
Yeah, and that's really true, because when I reemerge into the politics, and I never left, but I just took a step back. But a lot of times we talk about like creating boundaries for other people, but you also have to create boundaries for yourself. And so I knew that, like, to be honest, I don't like to phone bank anymore. I don't want to text bank anymore. Like I did all of that at some point in my journey, but that's not how I want to serve today. Of course, if there's a candidate that really needs me, I will volunteer,
Right.
but that's not the way, like, that's not how I want to contribute. And so this past election, I'm part of a international organization that's Black folks. And I wanted to be active in the New York mayoral race without spending money going to New York. And so I decided that how I'm going to contribute, even with the presidential race, is I'm just going to use this group that I'm already a part of and help engage them around what's happening in the electoral politics. And that made it doable for me versus trying to overcommit and overstretch myself to something that's going to get me back to where I was burnt out. And so I do think figuring out the why and then the how, and also creating like boundaries around like how you like when you also find yourself overstepping what you know is not doable for yourself. So holding yourself self accountability is also important.
Yeah, I agree. I think the other part of that is the self-care is important because, particularly if you're a volunteer, you're asked to volunteer, you're asked to donate, and particularly with Black women, we're asked to do it all, right? Phone bank, precinct walk, well, you name it, our name is on it, and so we have to really show those boundaries in all of this political process because without, those boundaries, oftentimes, particularly if you're focused on Black candidates, Black women candidates, usually underfunded, have to do it by the bootstraps. It makes it really hard for them to kind of move through the political process without people that look like them. And, but as a volunteer or someone that decides they want to work on a campaign, you have to set your boundaries because don't expect that candidate to set those boundaries for you. So, my phone, particularly this time of the year, rings off the hook for people who want either an endorsement or they want a donation or just now one of the major city mayors just called right when this call was about to start, and of course I have to take her call, and it's about something that she wanted to inform me about that was going on, right? And so that also means you lean in. Believe me, they're gonna tap in.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be very, if you don't want to lean in or you have limited time, then you probably don't want to develop real relationships. You might want to stay in the background and just kind of show up to things without people even knowing. I go sometimes on campaigns, people don't know I'm coming, and I just go to phone bank. And then when I come in, they're like, oh, I didn't know you were coming to phone bank. And that's intentional because what I don't want them to do is then have an expectation I'm going to be there when I can't show up, even though it's planned, or that I might be there for a long time. Like I may only have 20 minutes and I'm just coming in the phone bank for 20 minutes and then I'm out, right? I never do precinct walking though. That ain't my jam.
I'd rather be out precinct walking than on the phones.
I be on the phones because you can hang up on the phone. The precinct walking, you got to be all out in the streets, and they don't want to open the door.
Yes. Yes.
Nah, I like to be on the phone. So you start talking crazy, I just hang up. I'd be like, "Whoop, that call's gone over." So yeah.
So I actually wanted to open it up to see if anyone had any questions, and also tap Karina to see if we should be touching on anything else. But Michelle, Councilmember Wallace, for now, are there any questions that you have, or any additional comments as now that you heard Kellie and I? Is there anything else you wanted to say around how you stay grounded while staying informed?
Thank you, Keshia. I will say that listening to the two of you, you clearly have more experience in this space than I do. And I guess for me, when do you recognize like this is too much information? Like when you are vetting your candidates, when you are going after who you feel is the best pick, when does it become overwhelming? Because sometimes you feel like the more information, the better. But then that's when the burnout can come in, like, oh, this is overwhelming. So when do you say, okay, I've had enough. This is like my decision is made. And not saying I don't need to hear anymore, but just when do you feel that you have enough information to make a decision, whether you're working with the candidate behind scenes or when you're voting for someone?
Yeah, that's a good question. Kellie, you have any thoughts while I think about that?
So for me, I before I'm like, now I'm super engaged, right? So that there is no moment of overwhelming, right? Because it's like it's because we run a political action committee, I have to know everything there is to know about the candidate, particularly those that we're about to endorse. But prior to that, um, I think I did what most people did. I read the voter guide and I looked at who was supporting whom, which entities were supporting, which groups. And I also, tried to really do my best if looking at like their voting record, if they were already elected, to see, who endorsed them, what did they vote on previously. I think it's just some fundamentals you need to know locally and particularly locally, and Colleen could tell you, it's nonpartisan. Most of these seats, you don't know if they are what party they are because the majority of local seats are nonpartisan. And so you really have to look to see what they said. And if you could just get the base information, then you don't have to worry about all the other noise. You just got to know kind of their base information. Are they for the community that they said they were going to be for? And you can see that just based on reading a couple of the minutes from some, if it's city council member, if it's school board, it's school board, because everything is public. You can't like have a meeting and then hide the notes. They got to be. And so if you just choose to do just basic, that would be my recommendation. Just go and look out if they're elected and they ask and they're an incumbent. If they are new, then go and just, you now have Chat GPT, you now have AI. You could go in there and say, this person such and such is running. What's their platform? Look up and see what they have done in the past that makes them qualified for this role. And I lean as a super progressive. Would this be a good candidate for me? You could do stuff like that you weren't able to do before. Like those judges. We never knew who them judges were.
I know. Yeah. I think that's actually a great example. And I think what I always recommend to like people who are not in electoral politics and who don't care, who just want to show up and vote, which I'm grateful for, is I go do the work for them. Like I'll go see what organizations I trust, how they are weighing in on these different candidates, and then I'll share them. And I might share like 5 different versions. If someone is really interested in Black women issues, like I have the organization that I go to for that. If they're South LA rooted, I have the one that and Black and Brown rooted, then I have the organization for that. So for me, that's kind of like the easiest way where I kind of find those organizations. And also if I'm torn because I just don't have the time to get all into the weeds of the judges specifically, I will go and see what trusted organizations that I know who have done the work, and that I politically align with them, how they're voting. But I also think there's also good ways like and depending on how, like, where we get our news, I think it's Travis Smalley organization, KPFK, is that?
No, KBLA.
KBLA. I know sometimes they'll have different candidates. I know there was one race where I didn't really get too much into the weeds, and I listened to the candidates interview on that radio station. I would go to different candidate forums. That way I can just listen versus reading and then make my decision. But I thought what Kellie was going to say, when it's LA and California oriented, by being in the work, you kind of know who these players are. It's going to come a point when I'm not going to know who the players, because I haven't really been that engaged in the younger generation that's coming up. But for the most part, some of the folks, I kind of know where they stand and who they are. So it makes it a little bit more easier for someone like me to be able to be like, okay, I know you, I'm probably support you, lean towards you, or at the very least, if we don't all always agree, I know at the very least you're going to listen and you're going to be responsive to what the community wants. And that makes me more comfortable versus having someone who I'm not aligned with and who's not going to listen to the decisions of the community. So I also want to lift up, it's not just about who they are politically, it's about who they are as a person. And is this person someone that you can work with? Is this someone that, like, if they make a mistake and they need to change their idea, that they're willing to say, you know what, I thought about that and I'm actually going to do this instead. And I take all of those things into account. And if the everyday person who's not in this world can't do that, go to a trusted organization and find that trusted organization. And go to that, or the newspapers will have their slate, who they endorse. And I got to try this Chat GPT. And this Chat GPT next time. I'm definitely going to try that.
And in that prompt, you could put organizations, you can add that into the prompt. Like, I want all the candidates that the, Women's Voters League endorsed for 2026.
Yes.
Where before you had to track all that information down.
Yes.
Now you have an opportunity to just go in and look for them. So, yeah.
Okay. I was just about to ask, how do you vet an even trusted organization? But it sounds like Chat GPT
can hook you up, girl.
Is the way.
Yes. You can listen. There's no better time to have access than today. Is AI. You may not even use chat. Is that you have, you could get it fast. In the past, we would dig and dig and dig and dig. But now you can get it in the past. You got Ballotpedia. That's also a good place to look and see who's who, and their candidate statements are on there as well, because they just pull directly from the Secretary of State. You go to Secretary of State office. That's another place to pull candidates' information. Your county clerk office. There's just so many different, politics is public information at its best. You could get whatever you want to know about a person, how much money they've raised, what they're, who has endorsed them, who has supported them. You can get pretty much everything because it's all public. And then when it's all said and done, especially locally, if you feel like you're still not getting the right information, have your own candidates form and invite all the candidates. Find a location that's no cost to you, a library or something, and say, we're inviting all the candidates to have a community conversation with us.
And I assume that candidates are usually open to that because they want votes.
They want your votes.
Yeah.
They want your vote.
Especially if you tell them you're going to have 100 people there, they're going to be there.
Right. They're going to really, really be there.
Yes, and that's also good, because if you're a single issue voter, you can find the organization that you agree with, or that also works on that issue. But also for organizations like us, we can say, hey, we want to have a forum, and I know we're talking about that, have a forum, and we want the candidates to speak specifically to this. so that we know how they're going to support Black women and girls throughout the state of California.
Yeah.
And then we can walk away with the analysis based on those who answered. But it also looking at their track record, because everybody's going to tell you a great story. So
Yeah. Tell a story that they want you to know.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing I would say, Karina, because you brought up a good question, like how to find that organization, and I guess Kellie and I are speaking from like, because we've been in the work, we kind of know the people, know the organizations. But what came up for me as I was thinking about like, what if someone's not in this work? I think like electoral politics is year round. So it's not like just me. Of course, you could just show up and vote and hopefully be an informed voter, but you can start doing the work now. Like if you care about like pay student debt, there's an organization that's working on student debt, and you can start vetting that organization. And so I guess that's bringing up for me that we can't wait. Just like any assignment, big assignment, you can't wait to the last minute. That you have to kind of figure out, in my busy schedule, in my busy life, how much time can I dedicate a week to knowing what's happening around me? And maybe that's 30 minutes. That 30, maybe it's while you're in your car. And actually, that's when I listen to catch up on the news, is when I'm in the car. So maybe it's in the car. I drive 20 minutes to work. That's going to be my time to take in information. And so we do have to figure out what works best for us and do it. But I don't think, if we want to be a real informed voter, we can't wait to June 1st to start doing our homework.
Yeah, that's true. And because we're in a because we're in a state that we, protect voters' rights, we have an opportunity even before the election day to cast our votes. And if you're in a voter's choice county, you have 11 days before the election to cast your votes. And there's because there's the access isn't a issue. But I will say, with the new postal service rules, early voting is even more important now than ever, because they're not going to postmark your ballots like we used to be able to say, and we were conditioned to know that as long as we got it in the day of, it would be counted because it'll be postmarked. Well, now the postal service is saying, it may be in there for 3-4 days before they postmark. And so that's a barrier that has been put in place. And so we need to now work around that. So early voting is what we will be pushing, regardless of who you vote for, what you want to vote for. We want to make sure that it's early voting.
Okay. I do have another question, and please feel free to slap my wrist with this question, because I know this is a nonpartisan space. But when you are receiving information, and Kellie, you have brought up a point that made me think about how I've chosen my parties based on my family, like just grandfathered in almost. Have you ever had a moment where you have thought, all of this information I'm receiving, I might want to switch over? Like, I might have received information that, for me, I feel that they are more aligned with my thoughts. But then you think, history, you think your morals, you think what people might have something to say about you. Like, have you ever been in that space where you received information from both parties and you are just like, I now have to make a tough decision?
Yeah, well, local is nonpartisan. So you
Okay.
really should be looking at where they land. And Dr. Little, it sits on Compton Community College Board. That's a seat that, it's not a partisan seat, right? It's
Okay.
about, what's best for the students.
Mm-hmm.
It's not until you get further up that you start looking at the partisan, the partisan city council, even mayors, they don't have to say that they are a Dem. There is, the primary is top two, move on. And in our statewide, our state officers, the same thing, top two, but they normally will say, I'm a this, I'm a that. But the reality is, most of your local ones, you don't even know. I
Okay.
mean, they don't even put it on there unless they are super involved in the party, like so involved in the party that they have to say, and Colleen wants you to know, whoop whoop. But but there's some things you know, like if they're supported by labor, you're gonna know that they're pro workers, right? You're gonna look at some of their supporters, and then in terms of, okay, well, I align with this person more. Unless they're jumping out saying, I am this, you may not even know, unless they're like Colleen and some of our other Black electeds that tend to make sure people know where they land. And then when you go up, when you get into the federal part of it, you absolutely are taking positions bipartisanship. And what I would just say on that is that, when you get into your voting box, you vote for you. You don't vote for anybody else. You vote for you. And when you vote for you, it's what makes the most sense and aligns with your values.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
When for when you say the organizations, it is good to get into the organizations, because if you align, like Miss Keshia said, they align with you and you align with them. Like, okay, for me, instance, um, me, I when I first ran, I didn't know what to do. I just ran and told people why I was running for my city, and I end up getting Fiona Ma to endorse me, and I didn't even know her. You know what I'm saying? And we've been friends ever since. Um, the union, I'm so down for jobs for the kids here. They can't go away to college that don't have money or get scholarships. Every union, they always call me, Colleen, are you running? Are you running? Because we have to, because I'm in line with them. You know what I'm saying? Because the jobs, I was in a union job. The hospital, I'm always out there. The school district, I'm always out there talking to people. So it's good to be in line and with who sees what your values, when you want to run for city council or anything. Because my thing, what I was going to do, I was going to take it higher and try to run for state assembly. But some things happen in our city where I'm like, okay, I got to stay here like another year or so. But my goal is to run, because I have that. I have no, I'm not afraid to tell nobody, yeah, I'm a Democrat diehard in my mama's belly. Okay. And so they like, I'm gonna tell you like this. I have Republicans that have voted for me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm me. I don't act bougie. I tell people I'm not one of those bougie city council members. I'm Colleen, and I'm trying to help everybody. You know what I'm saying? Just long as you ain't dirty towards me, it's all good. And this is how I talk. And I think that's why I have had congressmen, like, they'll say, just the way I can't say how I talk, but I was at a function, and this congressman was like, I said, oh no, you talking like that? He like, well, I got it from the best, Colleen. I got it from you because you make us feel comfortable. So, you just gotta I'm a people person, and I keep it 100. So it's like I got a lot of people that enjoy me talking to them. So, but I'm just me. I just talk like I talk.
Thank you, council member.
Shivani, you had your
Yes,
hand up, beautiful.
yes, thank you guys so much. And I just wanted to add that I think one of the important things as well is you pretty much can track the decisions that people make. Because sometimes people always say that I'm in trenches and people won't always know what's happening, but you'll see alignment with what people support. And as Ms. Kellie said, you have to vote for what makes sense for you, because none of us are one issue or singular. And things are going to come up where some people may disappoint you, as we've known at the state level, right? But you have to weigh issues. And for me, what I've always done, I never wanted to go into politics until the Lord divinely told me, go run for this, because education was important. And we can't sit by without adding our voice. But we also have to support good people who are already in those spaces. I think we sometimes make a mistake and cannibalize our core, because we can have sisters who are in place doing well. Why then, you know what I'm saying, disrupt what they're doing when we can all be supporting and expanding where we're going? And so I just would encourage you, when people are, I'm a trustee for Compton College, we're building housing, we give free meals. You don't have to look far to see the impact. And it should never be dependent on a person, because you want these systems to continue. And so to me, those are the ways you can test. Like people who've been on the front lines, the back lines, the sidelines, they've been working consistently, and it's going to show up different ways, but you'll be able in the end to test the impact, the passion, the purpose. It's not going to be far off at all.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that, Dr. Little, because I was talking to one of your colleagues, Juanita, and saying to her the same thing about the one office that you can see immediate impact is the community college board. Like there are so many different levels of government, but you guys have made decisions at Compton Community College with Dr. Curry as you guys' president, where you guys said, we're going to put housing on campus, and we're going to make sure that that housing is available to the most vulnerable students. The state to do that will require a lot to be able to, a lot of pass-throughs to be able to make that commitment. Now, they still have to find funding for it that may be state and federal and local funding, but they can make the decision for that campus. And so you want to really look at government that way. You want to understand that every level have a different jurisdiction, and it isn't just one level they all have the same impact. It doesn't work like that. It may take you years to see what someone from your congressional representative has done, because of how the money flows, how the appropriation flows, how the policy flows. Your city, it may take you a couple of years because they're thinking of the long-term goals of the city. So current city council members are really implementing what previous city council had decided. That master plan could be 10 years old, and they're just adding the color commentary to it. And so understand, like, while you're watching, that you watch like what they're doing, not just for right now, but also for the future.
Thank you, Kellie, and thank you, Dr. Little, and everyone who chimed in. And I know we have to wrap up soon. And I just want to add, because to your question, Karina, about like when you're like, oh, I don't feel like either side represents me. And that's something that I've been thinking about, not necessarily because I feel like one side I know for sure I don't agree with at all. And then the other side, I'm like, I don't feel like they're going further enough or further than I want them to go. And so what I've been realizing is that there's fractions in all these different parties. And so you have, and you can really see this on a national level. Like you have conservatives all in the same party, moderates, you have progressives, and then you have socialists and all these different. So I think what I've been looking at, instead of like throwing away that party just yet, is like, let me figure out what this group within that party is working on. And so I haven't got invested yet too much in something that I'm exploring, but I feel like they're going further than they're meeting me where I need to be met. And so if I do continue to get like throw down within that party, I'll probably go over there because I'm not ready to completely leave the party, but I'm ready to go further than what I think some of the people within that party is willing to do. So I just say that you can also explore other fractions within the party.
And there's also not even though there's a 2 majority party system, there are also other parties that may align better. And again, the good news is you can, in California specifically, you may not have to address the party part of the question until you get to the federal level. So it all depends on the local, like what the local kind of statutes are. Like, are they running by party, which most of the time they're.
Kellie, I think you froze.
Yeah.
You would
Oh,
say.
there you are. Okay. Nope.
Oh, sorry. There I am. Yeah. It really, you won't have to address that question because California doesn't work. Am I still breaking up?
A little, but you came back quick.
That's okay. Yeah, it's just not so black and white here. So you have an opportunity to vote the way you want to vote here without even having to address the party issue here. Unless you super, dim like Colleen.
No, thank you so much for both of you clarifying that, because not that it has been a really like an issue for me, but it's something that has come up in conversations where people do have a conversation of, oh, I'm this and oh, I'm that. And sometimes they feel judged for it. So just, it being like clarity of, voting for what you want to vote for. And again, talking about the organizations, and thank you, Keshia, for breaking down like, parties within parties or the categories within of just basically finding your alignment is my takeaway from that conversation. So I do appreciate everyone chiming in and bringing that collective voice together for this conversation. I did want, thank you, Keshia, thank you, Kellie, thank you, Michelle, thank you, Renille, thank you, Colleen, thank you, Dr. Little, all for your input. It has been very helpful for this, insightful for this conversation. We did just have a little joy affirmation. I don't want to say little, but a joy affirmation that we wanted to bring to this call, led by Dr. Rihanna. And I am going to turn it over to her. Dr. Rihanna, welcome to Restful Resistance.
Well, thank you. And thank you for the conversations everybody has been having. I just kind of want to recenter us. I think one of the things that I heard overarching is there's a lot going on. There's a lot. And sometimes when there's a lot going on, we forget to pause and give ourselves that space that we need. And so I'm just going to start by giving us the title of this, because I think there's a couple things about the title, the joy mandate. We have to take control of our own entry points. And I think that was a lot of what we just discussed today. So we're going to do 3 phases of kind of this joy work right now. And next slide. So the first thing I do is I want us to kind of ground ourselves. So as we did before in the beginning, just relax your body. Try to close your eyes if it makes you feel comfortable. And I want you, as you close your eyes, to just take 3 long breaths. Let's do them slowly together. And while you're doing this and relaxing your body, I want you to think about and visualize something that you should or you must have done today, but you felt forced that you had to do it. And I want you to think of that for just a second. Now, at the same time, I want you to kind of release that. Take ownership back over of that in your life, whatever it is, whether it be the news, the media, that it felt like it was dictating your mood today. Just pause for a second and give yourself that ownership and power to say, it doesn't have to control me. And if you want to say an affirmation to this point, I've written one there. My worth is not tied to my productivity. My rest is my revolution. Let's sit with that for a second. Next slide, please. Now, I call myself a happy hippie because I really am. I really do like bringing joy into all of my work. And I think oftentimes we set that to the side. We focus on the negatives. We've got busy lives. We've got families. We've got all of those things. And so I want each of you to think about it. You can write it in the chat if you want, or you can just think about it yourself. What is a micro joy that you're proud of yourself that you've completed today? What's a micro joy that you've done? If you want to write in the chat, if you want to share, you're more than welcome to. If you want to just think about it, that's okay too. But just think about that. How many joys do you celebrate in yourself a day? Are you leaning more towards negativity than positivity in your life? Are there ways for you to rebalance yourself so that you're not always reacting to the emotions of the day, but you're centering a deliberate response to your day? So there's a prompt that I wrote at the bottom here that says, in a system that benefits from our exhaustion, what is one unproductive thing that you did today? So I'll give you an example. I think everything is productive, but I have these favorite sunglasses. I don't know what it is, but this screw keeps falling out. And I put it back in and I thought I was going to break them, and it made me sad. I had these things for 15 years. I would have been crying if I lost these glasses. This is my unproductive, productive thing of the day. I am super proud of it because I would be sad if I lost these. So think about that. Don't just celebrate your big wins, celebrate your small wins. Everything that you're doing in your day can be a form of joy. And I'm going to tell you, I say this to my friends often. They know about me saying stuff about glasses. I already shared this. I'm like, I fixed my glasses. And they're like, good job. Thank you. And I'm like, what did you do today? So please think about those things yourself. Next slide, please. So I want us all to think about this. You can say this together. We can say it out loud or unmuted. But just say this to yourself. And I want you to think about your affirmations as we kind of end the call. I claim my right to be well. I refuse to shrink. I refuse to settle. My joy fuels my leadership. My rest sustains my power. We are the movement. We choose to thrive side by side. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me. And I'm going to pass it back to Karina.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Rihanna, Dr. Rihanna. That was great. I'm going to save this in my archives. I truly appreciate this. Thank you so much. So just really quick, we'll run through our announcements. If you have not joined our Restful Resistance community, yes, thank you. If you have not rejoined our Restful Resistance community WhatsApp chat, please be sure to do so. You will receive updates there, affirmations, and also community events and more. And this platform is not just for the collective to pour into. We also invite members to pour into this, share any updates, any affirmations, and any community events that you have and more. And then also, we would love for you to become a member of the California Black Women's Collective. This space, we call it our Queendomhood. It's a safe space for you to come, to grow, to lead, and to thrive. You will gain access to our powerful network. We have tons of professional development opportunities, exclusive resources, and events that will help to foster your personal and collective impact. So please be sure to join become a member and join the queendomhood that we are building at the collective. And we just want to thank you all for joining tonight. And we trust that you have come into a restful new year, and that you will have a restful year ahead in 2026. So thank you all for joining so much. Yes, there is. Let me grab that for you, Michelle. Give me one moment. I'm grabbing for that for you for right now. I'm sorry I did not have it up. Okay. Michelle, I do not know why it's not popping up for me, but I will, yes, I will invite you to the WhatsApp via your number. I'm doing it now. Okay. You're very welcome. Thank you again for joining, guys. All right, you are locked in. Let me know if you have received it. Thank you, Dr. Little. You too.
Yeah, I haven't received it. Let me
It says
exit out.
It just said couldn't add Michelle to the community announcement group, so they were not added. You can invite them privately to join. Let's see. Tell me if you just got that.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Okay. See.